Hi, I'm Mrs. Wathen. I'm one of the librarians at the Walnut Hills High School Library. And today I'm going to give you a book talk on world literature. These books are all by authors who are not from the United States or the United Kingdom. They're all world authors. And all the books I talk about are available in the Walnut Hills High School Library, or they're available as ebooks or audiobooks through Sora. You can put our print books on hold through the library website, and then you can message us that you want to come pick it up, or we can deliver it to you if you'd like us to do that. You can also get a book, an ebook, or an audiobook through Sora on our website. This book talk will give you an idea of some of the kinds of books that we have, but there's lots of other books, and I'll make a list available to your teacher so you can look at that list. Okay, so the first book I'm going to talk to you about is called Loveboat, Taipei, and this is by ABigail Luen. And this takes place in Taipei, which is on the island of Taiwan. And this is about a character named Ever, whose parents have always wanted to control everything that she does, like what kinds of clothes she wears, what college she's going to, what her career is going to be, and they want her to be a doctor. They even control what she does during the summer. And this summer, they're going to send her to an exclusive summer program that is only for top students. And one of those students is Rick Wu, who she has always competed against, and then her glamorous roommate, Sophie. But when she gets to Taipei and she gets into the program, she discovers it's not what she thought it was. Actually, it's like a big party, and every night the students go clubbing and they go partying, and everybody's looking for romance. So Ever discovers that she's more free than she's ever been in her whole life, and she loves it. And she even decides that she doesn't want to be a doctor, she wants to be something else. So, how is she going to explain this to her parents and tell her parents this? So, this is kind of a fun comedy called Loveboat Taipei. Another book that takes place in Taipei City is called Want, and this is very different. This is by Cindy Pon, and this is science fiction based on a future world where the air is very, very polluted. And in this world, there are two kinds of peoples. The Yous are people who are very rich and can afford breathing suits, which cost about $100,000. So they get to breathe clean air, and they get the best food and water, and they live long lives. Then there are the Yous, who are inferior people. They can't afford these breathing suits, so they live shorter lives. Well, Jason and his friends have come up with a plan that they're going to infiltrate the Jin Corporation where these breathing suits are made. And the manager, the head of the corporation, has become very corrupt. So Jason and his friends are going to steal these suits, and then they're going to kill Mr. Jin, and they're going to blow up the factory or the corporation where the suits are made. But it gets a lot more complicated when Mr. Jin's daughter enters the picture, and things get to be more complex. So this is a very suspenseful thriller science fiction book about a future world that takes place in Taipei. But maybe you like fantasy better. And here's a new fantasy that we got. It's called Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie Dow. And this is based on Chinese mythology, and it's a romantic fantasy. The main character is Zi Feng, and she lives with her cruel aunt Guma, who is a witch. And Aunt Guma knows how to make spells and how to tell fortunes. And she sees that, Aunt Guma sees that Zi Feng is destined for great things, like she is destined to become the empress. So she decides to put a spell on Zi Feng. But Zi Feng is in love with Wei, who's just a simple craftsman. And Wei and Zi Feng decide to run away together. And as they're running away, they discover, or Zi Feng discovers, that her aunt Guma has placed a serpent in her heart, so that sometimes she's very kind-hearted, and then other times she's very cruel and hard-hearted. And this comes out when Wei asks her if he wants to join the army and he wants her to go with him, but she says no, she wants to work for the empress. She's also very ambitious. And she has the serpent in her heart. So how can she get the serpent out of her heart? And actually, this is book one. It's a series. So, how is she going to get how is she going to get out of the control of the serpent? And will she ever see Wei again after he leaves her? The Forest of a Thousand Lanterns. Okay, well, maybe you like mysteries better. And so here's a mystery. This is called The Silence of Bones by June Hoon. And this is a new one we just got a little while ago. It takes place in historic North Korea. And this is about an inspector his name is Inspector Han, and he takes on a new apprentice named Sol. And Sol starts investigating the murder of a woman named Lady O, who was found in the street having been murdered one night. And she was murdered in a very brutal way, and her nose was cut off at the end. So Sol starts looking for clues, and she finds in the street where the body was found, she finds a charm of a horse, and then she also finds a bloody robe, and then she finds out about a maid who was kidnapped because she possibly has some information. And then lastly, she discovers a story about another murder that took place that might be connected to this murder. So this is a very gripping mystery. Who is the killer who killed this woman? And it's a very haunting mystery set in North Korea. Okay, now we're going to move on to some African books, African authors, and there's quite a few and some really good new ones too. So this one is called My Sister the Serial Killer, and this is by the Nigerian author Oyimkan Braithwaite. And this is kind of a dark mystery, dark comedy mystery. Karita knows that her sister is a serial killer. And she knows that her sister has killed 3 men so far with a curved knife that she got from their father. And Ayota, her sister, says it was in self-defense, but 3 husbands? Really? So Karita is a nurse at a clinic, and she really likes the doctor there, Dr. Tade, who's very kind-hearted and very good with his patients. But one day, Karita's sister, Ayota, comes to visit her at the clinic and sees Dr. Tade. And Dr. Tade instantly falls falls for a Yoda, and he really wants to take her out. So he asks Karita to introduce them. Karita doesn't want them to go out with each other and doesn't want them to know each other, but what can she do? What will she do to help Dr. Tate? So this is kind of a dark comedy, but it's also very suspenseful. The next book is really good too, and this is a story more about friendship. This is called When the Ground is Hard by Malla Nunn. And this is about a girl named Adele who goes to a private boarding school in Swaziland, which is a very small country in southern Africa, near South Africa. Adele is fairly well, her family is fairly well to do. She has nice clothes and her father pays all the bills, so she feels very lucky. And she's going to this nice boarding school. And one day after vacation, she gets back on the bus to go back to school, and she finds out that her friend has ditched her for another girl and won't sit with her anymore and doesn't even want to be her roommate anymore at school. So Adele has to have a new roommate, and the only person in the school that doesn't have a roommate is Lottie, who is kind of ostracized by the other students at school and has always been excluded. No one else wants to be her roommate because she's so poor. So Adele is going to be her roommate. And the other thing is, they get this room where another student has died, and supposedly it's haunted by a ghost. So they get together, and Adele is just heartbroken and really hurt by this. But then one day, her shoulder is hurting, and Lottie comes over and has some salve and puts this salve, rubs the salve on her shoulder, and it makes it feel better. And that kind of changes things. And then some other changes happen, and they have a lot of incredible experiences. So this is really a really good book about friendship and what happens if your friends ditch you. And maybe everybody's had that experience before where a friend has hurt you. When the Ground is Hard. Now is the Time for Running. This is by Michael Williams, and this takes place in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And this is about a boy named Deo, and Deo is very good at soccer and is very talented. But war comes to his country, Zimbabwe, and his father has left, and Deo and his brother decide to go and look for his father. They know he's gone to South Africa, so they start the long journey, and Deo brings his soccer ball with him so he can practice along the journey. And the journey is very dangerous, like they have to cross this dangerous river where there are crocodiles, and they have to go through this wild animal park. But all along the way, Deo keeps playing soccer and practicing his skills. And they get a job on a tomato farm to make money. And they keep practicing soccer, and they finally get to the city. But how are they going to survive in the city? And what's going to happen to them? And will Deo ever get to play soccer on a soccer team? So this is a good kind of survivor story with a lot of soccer in it. Now is the time for running. Another book about soccer is called Furia by Yamile Mendez. And Camille loves to play soccer, and she's incredibly good at it. In fact, she's so powerful that her teammates call her La Furia. And recently, her team has just had a big win, and now they qualify for the South American tournament. but she hasn't told her parents that she plays soccer. She's been keeping it a secret. She sneaks out at night in the barrio where she lives to go play soccer. Her parents don't want her to play soccer. They believe that girls shouldn't play soccer, only boys. So she's been playing in secret. Um, Also, another problem that she has is that her boyfriend, Diego, who is also a soccer player, star soccer player, has recently come back into the city after being away on tour for a year. And he wants her to go out with him all the time, but she needs to play soccer. And he's a really good guy, and she really loves him, but she doesn't want him to come in between her and her dreams. So what is Camila going to do? How is she going to tell her parents? How is she going to deal with Diego? And will she ever get to pursue her dreams of playing soccer in America? Furia. Okay, another kind of book that you can read is the graphic novel. And so I've got a couple examples of graphic novels. We do have quite a few graphic novels that are by world authors that you can choose from. So this first one I'm going to tell you about is called Americanborn Chinese by Jean Luen Yang. And this won a lot of awards. It won the Prince Award in 2007 for Best Young Adult Literature, and it also was a runner-up for a National Book Award. And it is a graphic novel, so it's illustrated with pictures. And it tells 3 stories. The first one is about the Monkey King, who is a character in Chinese mythology, and he's wanting to become a deity because he doesn't like being a monkey. And then the second story is about Jin, who is getting teased and harassed by his classmates at school because he's Chinese. And he feels really bad about this until he makes a friend who helps him when he doesn't know how to talk to this girl and helps ask her out and things like that. And then the third story is about Danny, whose cousin Chinky comes from China and really embarrasses Danny until Danny finds out who Chunky really is. So all 3 stories are about accepting yourself and getting to know yourself and finding out who you really are. Another graphic novel, I'll just show you one other one, is called Alpha, from Abidjan to Paris. And this is by a French author named Bessora. And she tells the story of an immigrant who comes from the Ivory Coast up to Paris. He starts in Abidjan, which is a city in the Ivory Coast. His name is Alpha. First, he tries to immigrate legally, which is almost impossible. So then he tries to immigrate legally. And he pays a smuggler to take him to Mali. And then he actually buys a car and people pay him to drive them to Algeria. And along the way, the car breaks down all the time. They have trouble finding food and water. And he starts helping a young boy who is looking for his mother. So from Algeria, he has to go get on a boat, go to Spain, and then make his way to Paris. So this is his story, but it's really the story of all immigrants, and it really puts you in the shoes of the immigrants. Alpha. So those are all the books I'm going to tell you about today, and these give you examples of the kind of books you'll be finding. There's lots more. So let us know if you need help finding a book, and I hope you find a good book, and happy reading.